Hello and welcome to Feedback for the week of April 14th, 2010, in case you don't know what year it is. Joining us today, we have Abby Heppy, Matt Kyle, Jay Gaskill. Obviously, Patrick is not with us. He has decided to go look for the Sasquatch with Bob Saget.
He's in Hawaii. He doesn't care about anybody missing him on Feedback. He's on a beach.
He's actually in Hawaii hanging out with...
He doesn't miss you.
No.
Don't feel bad.
I mean, he only left earlier today, but I bet he's already wiped the mental slate. He's like, life is good. So we sit here and we have to, pretend he doesn't exist. And so we're not going to mention Patrick's name again for the rest of the show.
Who?
What?
Exactly.
Perfect.
There we go. It's a strange name anyway. So news. We had news this week. Actually, it kind of goes back to last week.
And the week before, and the week before that. And
so it all goes back to Infinity Ward, their spat with Activision, and obviously the end result that just recently got announced was their new company, Respawn Entertainment, is with EA Partners, and they've gone back to the fold because Jason and Vince, they made the Medal of Honor games for EA and left because they weren't happy there. And now they're back. Amazing.
Yeah, I've had relationships like that.
Yeah, I was about to say. Now, I think it's fair to say that EA has also changed significantly from what it once was. Obviously, they didn't have EA Partners.
Right.
They're with EA Partners. But we're going to start for a second and go over the countersuit that we had all anticipated from Activision. It came later than I thought. I thought Activision was going to add to the drama sooner. It was like, no, we need phase 2. Obviously, they are withholding the royalty payments, and they're claiming that this was all done behind their backs when they were talking to EA. Some of the good stuff in the complaint, because I love the hyperbole used in these complaints, alleges that the two went, quote, on a secret trip by private jet to Northern California.
The wild locale of Northern California.
And this is the best part. Arranged by their Hollywood agent. To meet with the most senior executives of Activision's closest competitor, which, of course, has to be Capcom.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Obviously.
It's EA. I just love when they say Hollywood agent. I think if you were filing this maybe in, Nebraska, that has some sort of odious, term. Most agents are in New York or they're in Hollywood, and obviously, they filed the papers, at least in California, most likely in Southern California. I don't know if that's going to elicit the emotional response it's supposed to.
Maybe not.
It also leaves out the part where they Halo jumped down to EA headquarters.
Yes.
And then snuck up under a one-man submarine.
Yes.
Smoke
grenades.
We'll do
smoke grenades to try to sneak in there. They also, and this is where they're trying to claim those damages, that they were delaying the pre-production of Modern Warfare 3, which means that they're acknowledging that game might exist. Duh. But, this is the games industry, so we have to pretend like, it's a surprise. As a direct and proximate result of this breach of the covenant of good faith and fair dealing, Activision has been forced to commit additional resources to Modern Warfare 3, institute litigation to seek a declaration of rights, and incur costs and attorney's fees, and will incur additional expenses in connection with securing the benefits of the Memorandum of Understanding.
No, they're only going to make
not the Memorandum of Understanding.
That would be the best weapon in an RPG. I could see in another two human.
Oh boy!
What I love about all that is that
phrasing.
it's basically like they hadn't been working on Modern Warfare 3.
We
weren't going to start it until well after 2 had started.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they were working on map packs. There was. We all knew that there was something happening, as has been acknowledged with the royalties. I mean, these guys worked on the most successful game of all time, and they still haven't seen what they deserve from it.
But also,
that's
this is
disincentive. I think.
That's true, but this is also pretty shady if the whole private jet to their headquarters and stuff. It's like they didn't really... those kind of stories don't help them.
But if they had flown Virgin
I
or
missed
Southwest,
that. It does say
different.
private jet. If it was said, they flew... discount
Southwest.
carriers to Northern California.
As though they'd have a less of a legal claim. If
Yes,
Southwest.
exactly. But, oh, man, it's a private jet. And it also makes it once again, we've been saying that when Activision's been responding to this, they do have that sound of a Jewish mother, like everything we do, and you just take your private jet with your new Hollywood agents. Look
but it
what
also
we
makes
did
them
for
out
you.
to be such elitist pricks.
Yes.
And if you've ever met Jason West and Vincent Pell, it's you'd be hard pressed to understand that they're actually the heads of the company.
Yeah, I mean they're just kind of they're kind of good
Just
guys.
such normal
Obviously,
guys.
this is so typical in legal spats. Of course, what this then led to was the announcement of Respawn Entertainment. This came from our friend Ben Fritz over at the LA Times. Congratulations, Ben. Looks like, though, they have time on their hands.
Yeah, 2 to 3
work on a
years,
game.
they say,
2 to 3
before
years
there's a
before they're
title
going to be
out.
getting a game.
I just want to know, are they going to keep the location secret so that Activision doesn't spawn camp them?
See, that's and that is a problem. Or just
Especially in Modern
or just
Warfare.
grenade spam them, really. Patrick did get an interview with Jason West, and the way that they sort of answered, I'm not going to read the full quote here, but they acknowledged the fact that they got fired. It was traumatic. They are implying in the interview that they didn't even think about going to EA Partners until after that. I don't want to discuss if that's right or wrong because we don't know. But obviously, that's going to be the point of contention of when were they actually talking to EA.
My
and
big
if they,
thing is we'll probably never know.
we probably won't.
They'll probably settle this before anything goes to court, and we'll never know what actually happened.
Imagine if G4 was actually going to do live broadcast of the trial. This is our OJ. This is our Michael Jackson.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it would be so cool.
You'd finally get to wear the hat with the press thing in it.
Or like they did over on E. If they don't like cameras in the courtroom, can we hire people to reenact what
Yes, we
happened
have
that
to
day?
have someone do the sketches.
Yeah. That would be great. Activision did respond. And they say that the agreement comes as no surprise to Activision, given the myriad of improper activities detailed in the cross-complaint filed on Friday. We look forward to continuing work with Infinity Ward's deep bench of proven talent on exciting new projects.
Wait, not Modern Warfare 3? Exciting new projects?
Who knows?
Isn't that what they wanted to do?
And also deep bench, or what's left of them. There've already been 5 or so.
Yeah, there's
people
been a
have
few
already
more
left.
people
There are
that
2
have
more
left since
today.
then.
Yeah, I mean,
announced.
it's unclear how much of Infinity Ward will still be there
Okay, but
when the full production of the game goes into production.
The best comment was EA's comment. The one that said we don't have time to comment on the various lawsuits that Activision brings against its employees and creative partners. Emphasis on many,
Just too many to keep track of.
Yeah, they are
It was a little tongue in cheek.
very litigious company. In fact, if you go and you look at the number of suits they have filed and the law firms that they have used, they're not just using one firm. They're using a lot of firms out there, and that actually is a strategy that's employed by some companies so that when they sue somebody, that more or less, if the plaintiff or the defendant, in the case, given who it is with Activision, it goes to a firm that is at one point worked with Activision, they have a legitimate claim to say there might be a conflict of interest. And I was surprising because I believe Jason West and Vince Zampella have O'Melvin & Myers, a massive law firm. And I was most shocked that I guess that's the one firm in LA that Activision hasn't used in one of their many pieces of
They
litigation
found one.
over the years.
Congratulations.
Obviously, the thing that's quite big is they have the deal with EA Partners, and they are going to own the IP, whatever it's going to be.
Right.
I don't know how many other devs actually have something that strong, but
that's kind of the point of EA
Yeah.
Partners, though, right? Like,
Well,
you
I mean, I guess the
partner
question
with
is-
EA
From what
for
I understand,
publishing
yeah.
needs, but you don't
I
turn
mean,
over.
I want to go check, but does BioWare own Mass Effect?
I'm pretty sure they do.
I mean that it is.
Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that's the point. Is like BioWare has the publishing might of EA.
At the very least,
but
they
get
have
to keep what they
creative
make.
autonomy that
I-
they don't
I'm
seem to
sure-
be
Right.
as managed.
Surely Valve must have that deal.
Yeah.
Well, Valve
Yeah.
owns it outright. Yes, that's one of the companies that does stand out. They don't even. They have a different deal with EA anyway. That's more distribution than it is outright publishing because of Steam. It's. I'm interested to see, as I said in my soapbox, if them asking and getting for full control over the IP is going to start a new trend of top level designers wanting that, because that is the end of the rainbow. That's how you're really going to make money in the long term.
But I've
You have
wondered
a hit
if
and
this
you
is going to
benefit.
be. Could this mark kind of the game equivalent of the end of the studio system in movies?
Yeah,
Where,
that's
where it became more about the creators, it became more about the auteur, it became. Not everyone got that deal.
Yeah.
But the Coppolas of the world got.
Yeah,
that deal.
exactly.
Sure.
It went from Sound of Music being the last massive hit in the studio system to all the wonderful movies we got in the 70s until Heaven's Gate. And then everything kind of, then all of a sudden we're looking to Karolko for our entertainment. So, but yeah, at least maybe we'll have that fetid time, in the games industry if this goes forward.
I would think that one of the places to watch during the development of this story would have to be Tim Schafer's Twitter, because as someone who has dealt with Activision in the past, I would imagine he'll have some interesting things to say.
Yeah, he had
On
one
the
a few weeks
sidelines.
ago that I think we mentioned on the show.
Tim of Legend, if anyone's out there curious and following him.
What I also love
He's
is
funny
that,
anyway, even when he's not
very
twittering
funny.
about Activision lawsuits.
like that was basically Bobby Kotick's like speech at DICE. Was
Oh,
one of
do you
big-
have the quotes
big parts.
with you?
Yeah, I do.
we have it
So
right here.
I do, actually.
If you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and read the top one because when he said this, nothing had happened yet. But wow, now looking at what has happened, wonder if he was actually speaking to it. The first thing he said is, the thing you realize is that creative, inspired people really do need to control their destiny. If you create culture that values independent thought and fosters independent operation and lets independent talent control much of their destiny, you'll get great games.
It's almost like he was running a different studio for a second.
I know. It's
crazy.
Just independent. And then he made a kind of a slight attack without naming EA, but it was clearly EA he was talking about. If you have a company and you want to protect your creative freedom and the integrity of the creative process, if you want to retain your identity and culture, if you want the support of the mothership and the resources of the mothership, we are a really great mothership, that being Activision. But if you want to sell out and move on, there are definitely other companies to talk to. But they get to own their IP over at EA.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. And didn't you close like a bunch of studios?
Yeah, it's kind of
Like how the folks over at Neversoft doing? You know.
I mean, to think that Kotick was up there unaware of what was brewing and was going to probably happen at any point.
I would like
kind
to
of
see
amazing.
just a compilation if you could like take video of everyone's face in the audience that was watching that and then like run them all next to each other.
Yeah.
So you just had like a live feed of what everybody,
How many
everybody
eyes
going like
rolling?
Being out in the
Yeah.
audience, I heard a lot of. It was
just a fly on the wall next to Vince when that happened.
I'm going to go ahead and read a comment here from Gold Bar. This is all great media coverage for both parties. Either way, I wouldn't necessarily say that. Either way, people are going to remember all of this drama and potentially follow any game development from either end. It doesn't matter if they are hardcore gamers or not. And hopefully the fans will reap the rewards of a new IP and possibly a better Modern Warfare-esque game from Activision. Well, you might actually get a Modern Warfare game from Activision. You might get a Modern Warfare-esque game from from Respawn Entertainment.
Right. It depends who owns the name Modern
Which is
Warfare.
one of the big points of contention right now.
And to his end though, it is. I mean, great media coverage, but at the same time, like Wall Street hasn't really noticed because their stock has been going up slightly for the past few
Guess
weeks.
what? Wall Street hasn't noticed a lot of things
Yeah.
Wall Street deserved to be noticing. The stuff that just came out today about Washington Mutual is enough to make me spit blood. So,
No.
but that's for a different podcast.
But we look to them. We look to them to see, if there would be any effect, or if the shareholders, in the company seem to notice. And I don't know.
Yeah,
They're the ones that would have to notice for a big change too.
And at the same time, it is good coverage because yes, we do want to see what the next thing that Activision is going to do, and we do want to see what they end up doing with the franchise.
And
I mean,
whoever
and
is
people will pay
working
attention.
on the next Call of Duty, it's always a challenge to make a game. There are going to be a set of eyeballs on them that I don't think that they deserve
Well, the
to
next
have
one would
to
be
have.
a Treyarch.
Yeah, the Treyarch.
Yeah,
one,
I mean,
but
typically
whoever-
that's what it would
whoever
be.
has to pick up the Modern Warfare 3 baton, basically.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot, but just given everything now.
This could, again, I don't know who it's good for, but it could be a very interesting move towards the mainstream being more aware of who makes the game being important.
Yes. Because
Yeah.
obviously people don't buy games because of publishers, but they don't buy enough games because of developers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this could change
Well
things.
said.
All right. In more EA news, that's just lighter, they announced the game that we've been waiting to hear about, which is the joint venture between People Can Fly, the makers of Painkiller, and Epic Games, who make Gears of War and the Unreal Engine, Bulletstorm. Obviously, it's on the cover of Game Informer. The name just kind of got announced in a press release, but it's going to be for PS3, 360. It takes place in the 26th century, which is good because I'm so tired of 25th century games. We got a protagonist named Grayson Hunt. He runs covert ops for a team called Dead Echo, and he's a fugitive. Crashed on a planet where all sorts of effed up alien plant things are happening, and this is
That's a good description.
yeah, whoever wrote these notes is great. So this is the cool point, is that it has a skill point system, in single player, and it's a shooter, which is nice because this starts to sound like this isn't as we've been playing shooters lately, which is you have to be more methodical, thoughtful because of death. This is, as we have seen in Painkiller, you really, it looks like need to be shooting as many things in most awesome ways as possible. We've actually moved so far away from the classic kind of Quake, Doom, Serious Sam type games. This looks like an interesting return to that. I mean, am I alone in having missed just ever so often wanting that kind of brainless shooter? I'm not saying this is brainless.
Not at all. Yeah.
I think the one issue with it is that like it's so hard to make that shooter and sustain it.
Yeah.
Painkiller, People Can Fly's previous games like do it pretty well. Serious Sam does it pretty well. Although Serious Sam is also it's half fun, half infuriating. I mean, I think that's kind of the point of these shooters to some degree. But I mean, People Can Fly has a great pedigree for just this straight up action shooter without having to worry about the depth and the stealth sequence. So,
but they are, I believe it's a Polish developer. But there, given when those games came out, and it isn't sort of a high-profile studio, that does allow the bar to get a little bit lower. That's like, hey, it's a very, very strong game that's limited in its scope. But now you're slapping EA and Epic on it. I mean, I wonder if it's going to be required that it has to kind of raise the bar, and do something new.
Be Epic.
What isn't? I mean, Epic. Yes.
Yeah. Well, the skill system, like maybe I'm the only one, but like to me, like what I think of there is the club.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which
is a good and a bad thing.
No, I honestly really like the club. I mean, I thought that maybe the aesthetic of the game was a little, it wasn't really eye-catching. It was real, it was very blah.
I
but
love
the actual concept and idea of that game was really solid.
And I thought it controlled well. I felt that because they made it into like the club that it was, it lacked any proper motivation. Like you can give me the skill points without having to make it into an overt competition.
And then there was 50 Cent.
50 Cent, Blood on the Sand.
There we go. That's the game.
I was just sitting here dying to.
I was like, what was the other game that I really liked that was like that?
I'm always the one that brings it up. I'm sorry. Yes, it was 50 Cent, Blood on the Sand.
It was a great game.
I know. Yeah. I loved it.
Also, it will have an online component, but no co-op. The fact that that's even being pointed out. Have we entered into an age where just like multiplayer was expected 5 years ago, that now everyone's like, has to have co-op?
Definitely. So. We've been there.
One of the top questions, like my game industry following friends would ask me about Mass Effect 2 is there co-op in Mass Effect 2?
You should take their controller away for 24 hours for asking
that. Sometimes. But like, it's just, I mean, it's so expected now. Like, everybody wants to play with their friends, and and now more and more people are like, why isn't there split screen? Why isn't there split screen? Everyone wants to play with their friends on the couch.
Yeah, not me. I hate
split
screen. I hate
is
split screen so
hanging
much.
out with someone at all times? What about alone time? Quiet time?
I don't know.
Well, see, I hate split screen so much that there's two setups. There's one in another room, so you can play and
I do not like split screen.
Yeah.
Well, I think in this they brought it up in the article because I guess you play alongside another character. So it's like you were kind of in a squad.
It
and
makes
like,
sense.
There's someone there with you. So the reason we're not putting it in there is because we're pushing this narrative, and it wouldn't make sense really to have another person.
It's funny. I always hear the narrative. It's like it's going to break up the story. I mean, with Halo, it's just like screw the story. I mean, if you want your co-op, we're just going to when you play it with co-op, you're going to lose the integrity of the story. I've always kind of questioned the when. Well, even with Gears, I believe that it was why they didn't have 4-player co-op was because of the story. And I guess the thing is...
But now they do, so...
Yeah.
Right. But it's a fine thing to say, like, hey, it's technically really, really hard to have 4-player co-op. Yeah. It's not like you just plug in 2 more things into the game.
We're tired.
Yeah.
Just stop, okay?
Really, I would love to hear that as an answer one time. So, yeah, I guess one of the few things is that this is... There's only a handful of new IPs that I'm aware of, for 2010, 2011. Yeah. So I think that's one of the nice things about Bulletstorm. Let's go on to our third, and I like this because it links to Epic Games, which kind of had a link back with EA to our first story about Infinity Ward, and that's Cliff went on Jimmy Fallon and announced Gears of War 3.
Right.
We all knew that was kind of going to happen.
Yeah.
Because he's supposed to be on Thursday.
Worst kept secret in the industry.
Yeah, it's. And, okay, let's just do this discussion for the next 2 minutes. Why? Why do we have to... What is this ridiculous song and dance? It's like a mating ritual that I would see on, like, Discovery Channel. with like, oh, we don't know if that game, we can't comment on it, and we're like, yeah, but we know you have it.
Well, it's just like,
I mean, they've said from the beginning it was going to be a trilogy. I know it drives me crazy too. So I know what your game is coming out this year. The same game that comes out every year.
Hollywood, the minute a movie makes money, they kind of go, yeah, we're going to make another one. It does also help your bottom line with your investors.
And here's who's going to be in it, and who might direct it. Here's who. It's like, I don't know what this. I mean, I always figured it was kind of a tech thing where like you didn't want people to steal your concepts and ideas because it takes so long to make a game,
or you wanted something to show when you're finally announcing it.
But like, if you just say that. I mean, I don't know. It's the same thing. I was wondering that myself with that Super Street Fighter 4. It's like, who cares who knows if the characters are in it? Or like, it's like, I don't know. Like,
I mean, I think it's a big deal when you see the trailer for the first time or when you see the first reveal of gameplay. But, and I'm not speaking to anyone in this room, there's this sense of excitement. Like, look, the obvious has been announced. Everyone just wants to get the announcement of the existence of something that clearly exists.
Yeah.
I mean, the press plays into this insanity as well.
But if they'd been totally open about it for so long, like, would we even be having this conversation on this podcast, and then they wouldn't be getting that kind of publicity? I mean, it was kind of exciting to watch it, and I watched it. You know, I mean, Gears 2 kind of disappointed me, and I watched the trailer on Fallon, and I was like, and at the end, when like that last thing fades out, it's just like the end, and I'm just like, oh, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Like, it got me. It got me.
No, and it got me too. I mean, I think I was more positive on Gears 2. I was more in Scott's camp who reviewed it than others.
See,
I like big monsters.
I found it kind of disappointing, especially when it came to the multiplayer. It was almost like they did a little too much with it.
Yeah.
I played the multiplayer for the first game for like 9 months. That was like all I played every night. I mean, we left a New Year's party one time. Just everybody sat around going, oh, you guys want to just do this at home over Gears of War? All right, let's go. You know, and I absolutely loved it. And the second one just didn't catch me in the same way. And I found the end a little bit underwhelming. The multiplayer was.
And I mean, I always say that, like, I play. It's a long-standing deal that Kevin Pereira and I play Gears co-op together. That's what we do with those games. And when we finished Gears 1, we instantly started a new game on Insanity, the max difficulty. And then on Gears 2, we finished that. We planned to do the same thing. And we're like, let's just stop.
I know. I did the first one on Insane, and then for the second one, never. I got really frustrated with grenades. Grenade spam, actually, was one of the reasons.
Well, let's talk about some of the things that we now know from Rod Ferguson are going to be in Gears 3. 4-player co-op. Okay, that thing that everyone wanted. Yes. It's there. Yep. It's there. We also know the exact date it's coming out, April 8th, 2011. Okay, fine. We have to go through this silly song and dance about whether or not the game exists. But at least, I don't think I've heard a release date that far out ever.
That's pretty far.
That's very good to hear. Characters are back. It's 18 months after Gears of War 2, and I guess it incorporates itself with the books.
Written by Karen Travis.
No, she's very good. She's very good. But this whole idea that like games are trying to make me read, I don't know. That's
my question is. It says the Locusts haven't been seen in the time that's passed since the end of 2 and the beginning of 3. What happened in the 4th Gears book? Were there no locusts in that? I didn't read it.
I didn't either. No. So if you're out there, if you have read it, you want to give us a synopsis.
Somebody tell us.
We're busy playing these games. Obviously, it looks like everything with the emulsion. That's why the locusts haven't been seen. That's playing into that. I mean, are they going to join forces? I hope not. But
forces with the locust. Join forces with the locust
against what are the other bad guys called?
Like
the big exploding guys.
Lambent. Well, there's Lambent versions of the enemies.
Yeah, but it sure looked like they were attacking the locust.
They were. There was one point where a locust was turning around.
You saw that in the trailer. So. Who knows? I like the idea of a 3-sided war. That is really good.
I think that's exciting.
Hey, that could be really fun for multiplayer. Yeah, though playing an exploding guy might suck.
And then Gears 4 can be an RTS. That's not where we're going. What?
Don't look at him. Don't look at him in the face. I think
more like Civ. They could be turn-based.
You can't call it Halo Wars, Gears Wars. That I don't know.
And there's a female cog now.
Gears of War Wars. No, Gears of War Wars.
Gears of War Wars.
That's what it needs to be.
Oh boy. No, I think you're. Yeah.
So there we go with the news. Thank you, me, for the news, because I don't know how we did this before. It's completely slipped.
I thought you'd be more excited about the release date and the fact that there's more big games pushing out in the spring.
Well, you know what? It's become so commonplace.
This year it became commonplace.
But yeah.
Are you already living in the future?
Exactly. I've embraced the present, and now it's like, this
fine.
is
Never mind.
the norm.
Forget I brought it up.
Yeah. I mean, is anyone else surprised? I mean, I have every reason to believe that next year in the beginning is going to look like this year.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I am still a little surprised
definitely.
I'm going to be playing a new Gears of War game in the spring.
Yeah, that sounds weird.
Because usually when it's cold, I do kind of like connect it. It's weird. There are seasonal things that connect with my games.
Yeah, I have to have my hot chocolate with my Gears of War. I don't know.
The two work well together.
Well, now we can join you and Kevin with the
obviously,
play.
I think it's worth noting to Cliff, who has always been a friend of this show, that you did admirably on Jimmy Fallon. I think the idea that he and Tim Schafer are kind of the first two people making this foray into this new way of publicizing stuff is really cool. With that, I want to move on to our game of the week. Jake, you reviewed it, Splinter Cell Conviction. I think all of us in this room have mixed feelings. I'm not saying mixed like it was necessarily bad, but it was definitely a different experience than what I thought going into it. But since you played everything and did the review, what was your kind of overall assessment?
That was pretty much it. At the end, it was kind of thinking about it like I really didn't know how to think about it because I really enjoyed it. It's super slick. Combat's really satisfying. But then, I mean, even after like the first 5 minutes, I was like, this isn't Splinter Cell.
Now, you were a fan of the old Splinter Cell games.
I did.
Now, Matt, where do you stand on the more traditional Splinter Cell?
I like the old Splinter Cell games, but I definitely thought it was time for a revamp. I don't know if this was the one it needed.
Okay.
Because I agree with Jake. It's not Splinter Cell. It's Rainbow Six Vegas Tiki style.
Abby, what was your feelings on the old Splinter Cells?
I'm not as good at some of the stealthy stuff like hiding bodies and I'm not. Yeah, shut it. We've been playing a lot this weekend, and I'm a little bit more run and gun than Matt. I'm usually
Abby runs in like a maniac with a machine gun, and I come around the side and save her. That's what
I saved you just as
it's like the Skipper and Gilligan.
Usually after you alerted the whole room.
Well, I mean, I would say
but this. I mean, I think if you weren't familiar with it and this is what you played, you might have a more positive.
This is more conducive to that kind of gameplay.
Yeah, it is. Well, that's the thing is you don't have to be as stealthy. It totally rewards you part of the time for just running in and
to the
killing
point that
everyone.
there's in co-op there's forced firefights with infinitely spawning enemies.
And single player there's forced.
It's very non-Splinter Cell.
Well,
I'm not saying it's bad.
Yeah, and that's the weird thing. It's like it's not bad because it is a good game, but it's just confusing because there are points in the single player where you kind of get into these big firefights and you get your ass handed to you, and it's kind of like the game saying like, remember we're kind of Splinter Cell. Like remember your stealth. Like where all of a sudden you have this awesome mark and execute mechanic. You're like super fast. It's all this crazy combat, and then it's kind of like taking that away from you for a second, saying like no, like slapping your hand, like no, it's Splinter Cell.
No,
you're like no, it's not. I've been running around to Sam Fisher, which is odd that he's as old as he's ever been, yet this is as fast as he's ever moved.
Which
he was too
Michael
old.
Ironside's voice coming out of that body is
he's too small and live.
Yeah.
And why isn't he? He's born. I think the bio in Chaos Theory said he was born in '57. So he's and Double Agent took place in 2008, I think. So this is probably 09 or 10. So he's 53.
And he came out. He was too old for the shit in the first one.
Yeah.
He came out of retirement for the first one.
Apparently, he lost about 20 pounds because
he's looking good.
Wonder what his pension's
doesn't
like.
look
He
the
came
age of
out
his
of
voice.
retirement.
I know.
So let's go back to the really good things about the game. The one thing that the controls, it's like they really gave some thought. I agree with some things Matt had said that the A button.
Yeah, the A button does a little too much.
Overall, the philosophy of the controls seem to be like let's kind of let you be a lot more reactive than Splinter Cell ever let you be. And for me, as someone who really wanted to like the old Splinter Cells, but I always kind of stopped quarter or halfway through the games because I just couldn't handle it anymore. I thought that worked really well. What was your feeling?
And I think that's it. I mean, I think for the people that had problems with all the other Splinter Cells with the pacing and kind of having to hide bodies and the kind of slower pace and hiding in the shadows and kind of the weight of like his movements, which that was always my favorite part of Splinter Cell, was being able to move as slowly as I wanted and kind of feeling him, which sounded weird. But
Feel Sam, Jake.
Yeah, I really like Splinter Cell. But I think that this time they kind of went and addressed that, and we're kind of like, this is the kind of Splinter Cell game that a lot of people who hated the other ones might have wanted.
Well, the other thing is, and I think they said it when they first started at E3 last year, is that we always kind of knew Sam Fisher was a badass, but and granted, because of the limitations of older systems, we never got that, and that's where like the mark and execute in this, where you can just once you do a hand-to-hand kill, you can identify two guys, and you're just going to just pop these headshots.
The dual
off.
execute was great for us playing co-op.
It's
that one was.
that feels like, oh, I'm tough. And when you do like pull someone out of a window, I mean, you can get very satisfying and dynamic, sort of kills and ways to handle the situation. But yeah, at the same time, it did seem to bring some limitations in the game.
Well, that's the thing.
It
It ends up being more like Arkham Asylum than a Splinter Cell
that game. It is very similar.
So, which is again, it's confusing. It's not bad, but it's just kind of off-putting.
And if you're interested, like, I know I did, and a lot of other people did. Like in the old Splinter Cells, I played Sam basically, as a shadow. Like the idea was get in and no one sees me, and that's how I gauge my success. You can't do that in this game.
Which I like. I like to kill people. I like the satisfaction that he's not getting back up.
Right, but
it does.
But it makes Sam like I feel like Conviction to some degree disrespects the legacy of the character in the sense that he was never bloodthirsty. He was always a badass. He was always able to kill anyone he wanted, but like he didn't want to, and he's shown remorse and reluctance. There were options in a couple of the games to not kill someone that Sam had a moral problem with killing. The player could decide whether or not to kill him, not just in Double Agent. But it's just
well, I mean, his daughter is dead. I mean, I guess I was trying to say that he could have gone through this transformation because of his fury and
somewhat,
trauma.
but then the first time you see him, he's sitting in a cafe hanging out, and it's just like, well, he doesn't.
That's what badasses do before they kick booty.
Well, that's the thing too. That happened before. That was like at the beginning of Double Agent when he found out that his daughter died, and then he went off and did like an entirely different mission. Like he's so distraught, like he has to get to the bottom of it and kill everybody. But he put it off for like a good 2 months or so.
What drives me crazy about that? Okay, so the projection on the walls is really, it's really neat in most parts when it's directing you where to go in your next mission. But then you get to parts of the game where it's projecting like your emotions on the walls.
That was
and it's
one
like
of the
anger, and you're like, I know.
Anger is great.
Or like
fury, betrayal.
Yeah,
One of the best
and
moments.
That's too much.
I'm not going to say why it's happening, but there's something that says "Welcome Home," and
that was good.
Really inspired. And I thought I wanted more of like the Colbert Report, where it's. You don't feel that whatever it is that's projecting the stuff is necessarily your subconscious, or if it is, it's one that's that doesn't like you.
Yeah,
very much.
There was a GLaDOS element to that one moment.
Yeah.
I just felt like so much of it made it feel like a dream.
Yeah,
like it was surreal. It felt like I almost was wondering, like, is Sam just gonna wake up at the end of this and like, oh, I had another international espionage dream?
Well, I just wish
it'd be great if like he woke up on Newhart.
Next to Bob.
Yeah.
I think that would have been
between
awesome.
Bob and Suzanne Plachette.
I just wish that they'd used it more like they used the welcome home and less like the saying that I'm angry on the wall.
Well, that's the thing too. It kind of like takes away from their designers because like I can tell from his voice.
I can tell
and
from
he's
what's
throwing
going on.
stuff off the desk and it's in his face. Like I know he's angry. I don't need you to tell me. On the wall.
I want to talk a bit because one of the reasons they did the revamp, and I don't know where you'll fall on this, Jake, but I think Abby and Matt would agree, is that there was a problem with the stealth game in general, not just in Splinter Cell, where there was great ideas for games, but it just required you to play a game very, very slowly, and that that really could hamper satisfaction when suddenly you have to redo a large part of a level because someone spotted you, or you're moving slowly, and so replaying stuff becomes a little less pleasurable than in other.
And they're a little more
games.
forgiving with the checkpoints.
Yeah, the checkpoints.
A lot more forgiving with the checkpoints, but it clearly had to have a revamp, and I think that for most part they found the best answer for that. And I was curious if you guys thought that if it is successful, if people are going to try to go back to stealth, which a lot of games have moved away from it. The only other game that also changed was Metal Gear Solid.
Right.
That if this is a necessary, and it'll be an influential direction.
I don't think we're going to see a huge resurgence in stealth until we see a revamp of AI and how it works, which may not be this generation. But the key to me is then the thing that was really getting me about the repetitiveness of the stealth in Conviction by the end of the game is that the enemies are so easy to fool, and the enemies all work the same way stealth game enemies have worked for years and years and years. And what we need, I think, is you need to give us a stealth game in which the enemies remember what you do and what happens to them. Because I shouldn't be able to just kind of duck behind stuff and then they forget about the dead guy in the doorway and go back to their patrols, and then I do the same thing again. Like the next like wave of stealth games will come when you can make AI that is dangerous and intelligent, but still fun to play.
And also concerned for their own safety.
Yes.
And so that's the thing, is that when they're aggressive, they seem to be like blindly walking into danger or,
And it's just like, I mean, maybe it wouldn't be fun, but there has to be a way to balance that where like, look, I killed a man in this doorway. you're not going to just stop looking for who did that. Like it should be more of a pressure, and then, again, you need, using Conviction as an example, you'd need to give me more ways to go up through the vents in the all over. You need to give me more ways to get around this environment and mess with these people.
I think the two things work together. That what I found was what was happening in Conviction is that once I kind of started to engage guards or enemies, I wasn't moving out of that area, even if like the environment was offering me opportunities to get up on a pipe or do something. Where the AI could be used in such a way to force me to explore more of the environment, and that I'm not going to kill 3 guys all at once. I have to really go one by one by one, because there were moments where I was suddenly realizing, oh yeah, I can go a lot of different places. But you just kind of need to deal with the problem at hand to get rid of all these guards. That
and also the
you
AI
can't experiment with the shooting at you.
And you made me think of my favorite stealth game, which is the Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay. Mm-hmm. And then when they made the sequel, they took all the stealth out for like half the game. Like part of the game, the beginning had it, and then all of a sudden it was like no stealth, and it's light outside.
And I should also point out that I played the game, and we played co-op, and I played campaign on realistic, the hard difficulty. Yeah. So like this was not like I played on easy and they were stupid.
No. We played on realistic.
It was like
through co-op,
they're still pretty easy to mess with.
Let's talk about co-op for a second, because that really did stand out for you as a positive in the game.
Co-op is a lot of fun, and actually the kind of the new mechanics and the kind of swifter movement of Sam actually fits a lot better in co-op. And it makes a lot more sense because they're young, these 2 young agents. And it's kind of like, oh, this is what these guys are like now.
It's like
this
the Wonder Twins in third echelon. I like that.
Yeah, exactly. And that these are the kind of agents that are out there now. And even when Sam goes up against kind of the new third echelon throughout the single player, he does kick their asses, but they would probably kill him.
They are afraid of it.
Right, that's true. So it is a lot of fun, and it feels really great. And it's just kind of starting at a level with kind of your 2 spies and your buddies, and you're like, okay, you go that way, and then marking, executing, dropping, and pulling it all, like emptying a room in like 3 seconds is just totally satisfying.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of different types too. There's the hunter one where you have to clear out a certain amount of enemies. There's the last stand one, which I don't think we care for very much, and that's like a horde sort of mode basically.
Yeah, but again, it becomes a run and gun, just like the competitive face-off mode. It's run and gun. If you go stealth wise,
then they wreck the thing that they're trying to destroy, and you lose.
Well enough.
Or
if you go stealth in Last Stand, you're probably not going to be able to stop them from shooting the EMP, and you're going to lose. It's just a weird decision.
That was an exercise in frustration for us.
Mercenaries, which is missing from this one.
Right.
And I don't think it really worked.
Now, it sounds like, though, that with the co-op, which I'm just going to assume, I do not know, that's where, when there's going to be DLC, we'll see it probably plug into that. But it sounds like that there really is a lot of life and a lot of experimentation that can be done with 2 people playing in that game.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun. And I like the challenges in the game. I think that they add a lot to it, allowing you to upgrade your weapons through all of that. But they were fun just for me to try to complete. And, we were on like the opposite track with them. I had like all the ones Matt didn't have, and Matt has all the ones I don't have. But we
play very differently.
We're very different.
Like you really sound like the Skipper and Gilligan
but to be fair, by the end of playing, I think like we weren't really even having to talk very often. We just knew what the other was going to do.
Yeah, we'll both be aiming for the guy on the left.
Or I knew she was going to go for these guys, and so I'd take the light out before she got the. It was a good team set. Also. Because at the beginning of co-op, the end is a great twist.
I did something rather.
Yes, do not reveal it.
I will not, but I did something rather awful to Matt in the last one, and I don't even think I told you yet what I did. Because you know what I said into the headset?
Yeah.
Because I was trying to do something.
Yeah, I heard.
And it worked.
I actually wanted to see it. It's a really good test of friendship.
It was mean.
But I also wanted to because you're playing playing an American agent and a Russian agent, and they kind of hate each other at the beginning. They're very grudgingly working together, and by the last level, like
they're so
total
cute.
bromance. Like
it is. It gets so cute.
There's like, are you all right? You all right? Yeah, man, I'm okay. It's
like they do such.
Sure, you want to rest? Yeah, it's just
they do such nice character development through just basically picking people up when they need a revive. It is adorable.
It goes from like, do you like what are you completely inept to like are you all right? Can you walk? Like, do you need a cookie?
Need a hand, buddy? Yeah.
Let's move on to our question of the week. Thank you, Jake, for reviewing Splinter Cell Conviction. Please check out the review. I know sometimes on the show we talk about the things that didn't work right because that makes for interesting discussion. It is a very strong game. 4 out of 5 from you.
Yeah, and I think it's a very strongly written review in the sense of trying to balance, like, these are weird and these are differences and these are changes, but you do a good job of not making them sound negative.
Yeah.
Because it got a 4 out of 5. Like, we don't dislike this game.
This is a good game. This is a good game. Our question of the week goes back to Gears of War. We have a couple. I would love to. Well, actually, we have 3. The third one we are definitely going to get to. But from Osu Blue Jacket, I guess. OSU Blue Jacket.
Or is it? Okay.
With Gears of War planting the flag on April 8th, 2011, do you think more developers are going to follow suit and issue release dates well in advance, a la movies? Or will the technical issues inherent with game design continue to cause developers to announce a release date a few months beforehand and occasionally push them back? Great question.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of ballsy to be saying April 8th, 2011. Now, of course, it's not like they have a legally bound to having
right.
But again,
at that point.
I mean, it's Cliff. It's Epic.
Yeah.
They've made 2 of these.
Right.
They make the engine.
They've been working on this for
they know
a
what they're
considerable
doing.
period of
If
time.
anyone can say, this is how long this is going to take us, it's Epic Games.
And I guess for OSU Blue Jacket, one of the things that I think does happen with the movies, and not in all cases, is that movie is done well in advance of that release date with maybe only the most minor of tinkering, and then the marketing machine happens. I think that's the bigger problem, is that the marketing for a lot of video games gets all screwed up. Big
Well,
example.
it's happening as the game is being
Right.
developed.
But then you want to do that big push
Yeah.
for the mainstream. When Matt and I first moved down here from San Francisco, or around the time that the 360 launched on Olympic, as we would drive back to this neighborhood when we were out at the old studio, there was this fat billboard for Oblivion that was supposed to be launching with the Xbox 360, and it didn't. So for like November, December, and January, we're being advertised a game that was way later going to be released. It is a problem for the games industry.
As for other, I mean, obviously with Epic, it's like they know what they're doing. They'll probably hit it. For everybody else, I would like to see it because when I read the comment, all I could think of was there's nothing better than getting a package early. Like, like order something and like UPS says it's going to be there like on Thursday.
Yeah.
And you're like not expecting it until Thursday, and then you get home Tuesday and it's there. And
Yeah.
it's amazing. Like, just lie to me. Actually, I wouldn't mind. Like,
Yeah.
if you said it was going to be later, but it really wasn't, I wouldn't mind. 'Cause
No,
it's
I
gonna come
wouldn't
early.
either.
So,
Yeah.
because then you kind of like remove that, we didn't hit the date. It's coming out 3 months from now.
Well, it's also, I bet the game companies would like to know this so that they can kind of counter program. I mean, there have been some very unfortunate Tuesdays where a huge game is coming out and a not as huge game that still is good gets absolutely buried under the excitement.
That's a
for the
good
big
point.
one.
Like Gears can pretty much pick its day,
Right.
whereas
Yeah.
like Persona 5
Yeah.
might want to see what's coming out
Yeah.
the rest of the month.
It would
Yeah.
definitely help. Let's read the question from Team1138, also about Gears of War 2. Do you think it is notable that a video game was announced on a late-night TV show, similar to what we might see out of a blockbuster movie like Iron Man 2? And is this the final push for mainstream acceptance of video games? Starting around the Wii and followed with lack of controversy around sex and violence in Mass Effect 2 and God of War 3. I don't know if this is the final push. I think the push is still...
It's a start.
We're still
Well,
pushing.
Fair.
It's
The
like a God of War
trailer
2
for-
puzzle. We're still pushing.
I think it was notable that Fallon didn't seem to feel the need to. I mean, Fallon's kind of a dork like us too, but like he
Good
didn't-
dork.
He didn't feel that. Yeah, I mean he's one of us, but like he didn't feel the need to justify why a guy was
Yeah.
announcing a game
Right.
on his show.
Yeah, which was really
And-
cool.
Yeah, and Cliff did a really good job of. He didn't hide his nerdy
Yeah.
by talking about when he got the high score and Nintendo Power and all that stuff, but like he also didn't come off like some kind of socially inept. I mean, he was a totally cool dude, like Cliff is.
That's why Cliff is perfect
Yeah,
for
it's like
these
Cliff
jobs.
is a great ambassador for that.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I think it's just becoming less and less weird. Like we said at the panels at PAX, like you don't have a word for people who watch movies. Like it's going to become so ubiquitous among the upcoming generation that the idea that someone would think it's weird that someone plays games or cares about a game release is going to become weird.
Now, the thing that is most interesting is that they announced the game. I could see it would make more sense as with movies and other things that with these late night talk shows. They come right as it's about to come out. Right when you want to make the consumer aware. It is strange that sort of what tends to be our editorial purview because that the announcement of a game tends to only serve the hardcore. But Gears of War is a very popular game. It's interesting that they decided to announce it rather than kind of do the big promotion for the game
Do you
right
think it's
before its
maybe
release.
like an experiment?
It could be.
see what happens.
I think Fallon likes games. I mean, we all know that
Clearly,
Fallon really likes games, and he had Tim on, he had Natal on when it probably shouldn't have been on national television, right after E3 last year. But
well, I mean, I guess you either send the press release out to every outlet and everybody gets it simultaneously, or you choose an outlet and everybody picks up on that, or you choose an outlet that's kind of bigger and encompasses something different than the games media, and the game media picks up on it anyway. I don't know. You don't really lose.
The usual place that you announce this is on the cover of Game Informer, but there's another Epic game that's on the cover of Game Informer.
Right.
All right, I want to end this with our third question. This is one of the toughest questions we've ever received.
This is a hard one.
Here on feedback. It's from Salvatore88. How big a cliff could Cliffy B climb if Cliffy B could climb cliffs? I mean, I don't even know
send your best answer to feedback.
And he's in pretty good shape. I mean, I would
He
think
is in good shape.
pretty big
and
cliff.
he's in a small package, kind of.
I mean, are we thinking
spry?
like the beginning of Mission Impossible
it's
2?
compact.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Well,
it's
the traditional answer would then, be the same one with the woodchuck, was as much wood as a woodchuck would chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood. So you'd have to do as big a cliff as Cliffy B could climb if Cliffy B could climb cliffs.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a big cliff for Cliff to climb while climbing a cliff.
Well, we're going to have him climb an infinite rock climbing wall. Or
Yes,
something to
obviously,
find out,
this is the question for E3. And
There's
We're gonna have to ask
there's
him
only
that.
one man who can answer this question.
yeah, exactly. So if you're out there, you have months in advance warning about, we're going to hit you with this one because we are hardcore journalists in the game industry. That's with a capital J.
Very
not with one of
serious
the small
Maybe we
ones.
suggest a Gears 3 promotion in which Cliff climbs Half Dome.
That sounds good.
I don't know why. Just
Yeah. Just
Good
because.
cliff.
Why not?
El Capitan, if it's available that day.
Yeah.
If you
if you can get the permit.
All right, and with that, we will mold this further. Thank you guys for feedback for this week, Abby, Matt, Jake. Obviously, if you have not seen some of the content on the website we were talking about today, Patrick's interview with Jason West, obviously the review of Splinter Cell Conviction, and a whole bunch of other content, then you go there right now because this is over. And now you go to the website and do the reading stuff like we should be doing with our books in between episodes 2 and 3 of Gears of War. All right, that's it. Stop edifying. We'll see you next week. Ow.
Do you play World of Warcraft or one of its 1,000 clones? Do you know what a mob or pug is? Then you'll want to make sure to check out the MMO Report. It gives you all the massively multiplayer online news you could want in a neat little package named Casey Schreiner. Check out all new episodes every Thursday over at g4tv.com/MMO. You're welcome.